What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes, and last night was just ridiculous. I thought those college football games were great, specifically the first one, the Georgia-Oklahoma game that ends in double overtime, and I thought Baker Mayfield came to play. The first half stats for him, every time they had a possession, they were putting points up on the board. I specifically wanted an Alabama and Oklahoma matchup, but what I ended up finding out was we have an all-SEC final next Monday on January 8th, and I'm not mad about it. But to discuss this first game, this is everything that needed to happen for this college football playoff. It was great football. It was entertaining. You had both teams performing, and it was one of those at the end of the day, someone had to lose, sadly, but at the end of the day, you can look at both teams and say they both played a hell of a football game, and it's just the way it should be in the playoffs. Both teams played excellent, and a few minor mistakes is what kind of cost them. Baker Mayfield, he's got a lot of talk going about him. After the game, one of the Oklahoma players told him to stay humble, as if he was chirping him, like, stay humble. Who are you to be talking all this smack? It's like, dude, look at his stats. He had 2 touchdowns, 287. He brought his team to double overtime with your squad. He put up 48 points on your defense. What do you mean, stay humble? He's nothing ridiculous. He's not too cocky. I think he's playing it perfectly fine. The way they talk about him, the way that he brings energy to his squad, the way he hypes up the D, hypes up the O. He's everything you want in a leader, and will it transfer over to the NFL? We're going to have to wait and see. I think he needs to work on some things. I think his ball is a little bit inaccurate sometimes when he goes down the field, but all in all, Georgia wins 54-48 after blocking a field goal in overtime. It was just awesome football. Georgia's running backs is what really saved the day. They had 6 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns. Chubb ran for 145 on 14 carries. Michelle, 181 yards. He had 3 running touchdowns. 1 receiving touchdown. The game was just great. All around, great. Very entertaining game. And I'm excited to see how Alabama is going to match up against this Georgia squad. The ending of the game was truly insane. To start off, the halftime situation was ridiculous. Oklahoma was up 31-14, and with 6 seconds left, they try and just give a little squib kick, and they end up failing on it. It doesn't go very far at all. Georgia ends up getting the ball and kicking a 55-yard field goal right before the half to gain some momentum. So now it's only 31-17, and it's a 2-possession game at this point. I think that really gave Georgia some energy there late in the second half to give them a hot start in the third quarter. Because in the third quarter, Nick Chubb ends up running for 50 yards for a touchdown, and then their other back runs for a 38-yard touchdown to tie the ball game in the third quarter. The run defense for Oklahoma was just garbage. All around, obviously, the defenses did not play their best game because there were a lot of huge plays. At the start of the fourth quarter, Georgia gets a receiving touchdown from Wims to take the lead 38-31 in the fourth quarter. And that's when Dimitri Flowers gets a touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield to tie the game. And then Oklahoma gets a fumble return 46-yard touchdown after Georgia's back has a huge fumble. So Oklahoma takes the lead 45-38. And then with 55 seconds left, that is when Nick Chubb ends up taking the 2-yard run to the house to make it a tie ball game. And then overtime. You get first overtime, both teams kicking field goals. Second overtime is when Georgia blocks Oklahoma's field goal on their first attempt, so all they had to do was score, and that's when they score on a 27-yard running play to take the W and move on to the finals. That game was so hype, it kind of made the Bama game not as hype. But it was still great because Bama is unbelievable. I mean, they're playing for their third straight college football national championship. Hurts, 16 of 24, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Their defense is what totally outplayed Clemson. Clemson had 6 points. Bryant threw 2 interceptions. I mean, their team just couldn't get anything going. Alabama's defense was what really won them the football game. I mean, the final score was 24-6. And Clemson just got dominated. I mean, they really couldn't get anything going. Dabo Swinney looked like he was getting outcoached by Nick Saban. I mean, you know Nick Saban didn't want to lose again after what happened last year in the national championship with just a few seconds left. So you knew he was going to be very prepared. All in all, I was just very happy with how the college football playoff went out. And that wasn't the only great football games of yesterday on New Year's Day. UCF goes undefeated by beating Auburn 34-27. And UCF went 2 years ago, there were 50-plus players on that squad that went 0-12. And now you're telling me 2 years later they're going 13-0 and beating Auburn in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl? Not only that, this Auburn squad, if you remember, is the squad that beat Alabama, that beat Georgia. Like, UCF is no joke, and people are now saying, why wasn't UCF in the playoffs at being 12-0? Well, they're going to have to expand the playoff. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Everyone knows at this point there are teams that are outside of that top 4 who are national champion caliber. And they just don't get it because right now the 4 squads is all they got. And Notre Dame and LSU played in the Citrus Bowl, and at the end of the game, Notre Dame's receiver makes a beautiful one-handed catch and makes 2 defenders miss to take the lead with 1 minute and 28 seconds left to win 21-17. So Notre Dame finishes their season strong, 10-3. And then Michigan in the Outback Bowl loses to South Carolina. And is it time, do I dare say it, to find a new head coach? You got to know that these Michigan fans are not very happy with what has been put out on this field. I mean, you can run down since Harbaugh's been there, you can run down their Ohio State wins. You can run through their Michigan State wins. I mean, they're not very good against these teams. They finish 8-5 and they lose to South Carolina 26-19, and it was a comeback. At one point in the third quarter, Michigan's leading this football game 19-3, and that's when South Carolina runs for a 17-yard touchdown and gets a 2-point goes for the 2-point conversion, but does not complete it. So the score is now 19-9. 51 seconds left in the third quarter. They get another touchdown pass. 19-16. Fourth quarter, 53-yard touchdown pass. Take the lead, 23-19, and with 3:47 left, they kick a field goal to take a 26-19 lead. They were up 19-3, and they blow it. Is that all on coaching? Is that play calls? Is that being out-coached? What is that? So Michigan falls to 8-5, and you know that there's going to be a lot of talk. You just know that there is going to be head coach situations that, I don't know. Is it too soon? Is he too high caliber of a coach? What is the situation over there in Michigan? If I was a Michigan fan, I wouldn't be the happiest. I know it's not the worst situations looking at his wins and losses throughout his time here, but I don't know. So that's where we are. We have an Alabama-Georgia All-SEC National Championship game next Monday. And I think Bama's going to win. And there is a stat because Alabama's old defensive coordinator is Georgia's head coach. And Nick Saban is 11-0 against former coaches. And he wins by 14-plus points in those games. So that's an interesting fact. There were other couple huge college football games. The bowl game season's great. Ohio State, by the way, just completely dominated USC, and I was pretty upset with that Cotton Bowl. The final score was 24-17, and USC just had no answer at all and just looked completely dominated. And lastly, the Penn State-Washington game. Penn State wins 35-28. And Barkley plays his last game as a Nittany Lion. He ends up having 2 touchdowns for 137 yards. McSorley throws for 342 yards and 2 touchdowns. And at one point in this game, Penn State was dominating the Fiesta Bowl. And Washington did not give up. They kind of stood around and hang in there and started to come back a little bit, but Penn State just has a little too much. And that's another team who finishes the season 11-2. I know they were ranked 9th, so technically I think the field that people are talking about is an 8-team field. But is this another team that has a national championship caliber? I think so. So yeah, college football, we got one game left, and Here we are with Sports Talk with Brodes. Follow me on Twitter at sportsandbrodes. Call into the show using your voice recording app and sending it to sportsandbrodes@gmail.com. We are at episode 50 right now. This is the milestone. Episode 50. I have started in August. This is now 5 months. 50 episodes in 5 months. 1,675 downloads at this time of recording. This is a huge step in the right direction, and we're going to keep moving forward. I am just blessed that I have people who support this and really do enjoy listening to these episodes, and I will continue to make them for everybody. But let's go into a little NFL at this time. Week 17 was kind of just all over the place as always. The Eagles lose a game 6-0. Do I really want to get into a conversation like this? Not really, but I'm going to. Doug Peterson made it seem like we were going to be playing all of our players the whole entire game. We saw one quarter of an offense that looked ridiculous, but our defense looked phenomenal. Okay, complete opposites. Our defense looked great all the way through our third stringers. But this offense, I just have no hope for it. It's ugly. It's not on the right page. I don't want to hear Nick. It's just ugly, and we're not going to win football games if we can't move the ball downfield and put the ball in the end zone. Can our defense carry it? I hear people saying, Broncos, defense. They won it with a Peyton Manning who was just average. It doesn't matter about just average. That's Peyton Manning, okay? He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Nick Foles is not Peyton Manning when it comes to IQ. It's just not the same. We can't move the ball downfield. It's just going to be bad. I'm just preparing myself for the worst. And that might be the worst kind of fan there is. My coach asked me, Brodes, what do you think about the Eagles? I told him we ain't going to win a game. We're not going to win one game. He just laughed and said, you know what? You are just typical Philadelphia sports fan. I don't care. It's the truth. There's no way you can look at me in the eyes and say, I think that they're going to be able to put up enough points against the Minnesota Vikings defense. I was at the bar and I had a little conversation about this, and I said, I'm scared of the Vikings. Oh, Case Keenum, Dude, look at his numbers this whole entire year. They're legit numbers. The stats say otherwise. He is no joke this season. Look at Nick Foles' stats this season. I don't understand how you can sit there and say that Case Keenum is a nobody. Look at his stats. He is a somebody this year. You're telling me Nick Foles is going to be able to crush through that defense? There's no way. There's no way. So we lose to the Cowboys 6-0, but it doesn't even matter because it's one of those games in Week 17 that just doesn't count for anything. But there were some big games. First off, the Browns go 0-16, and I thought that they were actually going to have a chance to beat this Steelers squad, who did have backup players in, but they fall 28-24 and complete the second 0-16 season from when the Lions did it back in 2008, I believe it was. So let's talk about the Bills, because the Bills make playoffs. Their job was to beat the Miami Dolphins and have the Ravens lose a football game against the Cincinnati Bengals at home in Baltimore. The Bills do their job. They win 22-16. And it was a great game, and they almost blew it at the end. There was some drama. There was some fights. They were winning 22-3 in the fourth quarter, but Jarvis Landry ends up scoring a touchdown to make it 22-9. And then with 1:56 seconds left in the game, they score another touchdown to make it 22-16. But Miami could not complete the comeback, so the Bills win. So what did they have to do? Like I said, the Ravens needed to lose the football game. Oh, well, I mean, do we dare go over this for these Baltimore Ravens fans? In the fourth quarter, the score was 24-20 in favor of Cincinnati. Then, Mike Wallace gets a 6-yard touchdown pass from Joe Flacco to make the score 27-24 Baltimore Ravens with 8 minutes and 48 seconds left. And with 44 seconds left on 4th and long, Andy Dalton hits Tyler Boyd for a 49-yard touchdown pass to crush the hearts of the Baltimore Ravens. So the Bills get their first playoff berth since 1999. It was the longest playoff drought in any 4 major sports teams. So any NHL, NBA, NFL, MLB, any team in those 4 leagues, they've had the longest drought. And now that is the 0-1 Seattle Mariners who takes the longest drought. I'm happy for the Bills, but they do lose LaShawn McCoy in that football game, which could be a huge piece to the playoffs, obviously, because they are no doubt, he is no doubt their best player who can perform every night for them. So that's a stinger. The Saints lose to the Buccaneers, but they end up getting help and clinching the division due to the Panthers falling to the Falcons. So the Falcons needed to win to hold their destiny. They get in the playoffs. This is what the playoffs looks like at this moment in time. For the AFC, the seeds: Bills at 6, Titans at 5, Chiefs at 4, Jags at 3, Steelers at 2, Patriots at 1. And for the NFC, the Falcons at 6, the Panthers at 5, the Saints at 4, the Rams at 3, the Vikings at 2, and the Eagles are at 1. I'm excited to see some football, some playoff NFL football. The Seahawks ended up losing to the Cardinals, and that was big because they wanted if they won a football game and they needed the Falcons to lose, I believe it was, then they would have been in the playoffs. The 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo, still has not lost a football game. They beat the Rams 34-13. Now, I know the Rams were already in playoffs, so they weren't playing all of their players, but still, Jimmy Garoppolo gets another W. And the Chiefs beat the Broncos, but they had Mahomes. They actually put him in, and he played very well. Baldy on Twitter, Brian Baldinger, actually broke down a play of him escaping the pocket and making a beautiful throw on the run that not many people in this league can do to this day. And he's got some high hopes, so Kansas City ends up winning on a high note. It's time now where coaches are starting to get fired. Raiders coach got fired. Chuck Pagano got fired. I know there's other coaches that got fired around the league. There's also a huge report that Jim Schwartz is in favor of the Giants head coaching job after this season. Now, I know we knew we were going to lose him. We knew he was someone who was very, very good and was probably going to become a head coach somewhere around the league. But to see it in the Giants might be a little weird. I mean, it's not definite. All I'm saying is that there are reports that he is discussing the coach of the New York Giants job. Now, I just want to say this also. LeBron James' birthday is December 31st. Tiger Woods' birthday is December 31st. Do I dare tell you whose birthday is also December 31st? I'll give you one guess. And it rhymes with Garson Wentz. That's right, it's Carson Wentz. He is going to be the GOAT. That is just it. If you have the same birthday as Tiger Woods and you have the same exact birthday as LeBron James, come on now. Too easy. Way too easy. I am guaranteeing that if you have the same birthday as any of these athletes, that just pretty much says you're going to be a superstar in your respected league. That's why when I have children, I am waiting for the proper amount of time of 9 months so I know December 31st, LeBron James Brody or Serena Williams Brody will be born. Speaking of LeBron, though, let's go a little NBA. Steph Curry returned to the basketball floor the other night, and man, was it special. He looked great. He makes the whole entire building just a different atmosphere. Even Steve Kerr said Steph Curry makes everything better. Even him being out there makes his wife better looking. And I was like, oh, interesting, right? I guess, interesting. But no, he played phenomenal. I'm looking for the stats here. I know he had 38 points. They won 141 to 128, by the way, which I feel is a ridiculous high-scoring basketball game. Steph Curry had 38 points, 10 of 13 from the three-point line. I mean, you're talking about a man who didn't have any big-time colleges, went to Davidson. I mean, I'm starting to really appreciate him. And it's not like I don't. I understand that he's LeBron's rival at this point because they keep going head-to-head in the playoffs, and I'm obviously a LeBron James diehard fan. But, man, he is something special, and I can't hate on it. I can't hate on the way he plays. I can't hate on him being so underrated at a young age and being as dominant as he is from the three-point line. I mean, you just got to respect his shooting so much. The NBA has never seen anything this crazy of a shooter from deep. I mean, it's crazy. It really is. I can't even get over it. And another thing with this NBA, they're starting to do this. Well, I don't know if they've always been doing it, but it's been out of hand lately, is the 2-minute drill at the end of a game. After a game's over, they will go back and look at the last 2 minutes and discuss situations that occurred that was not called, that was supposed to be. What is this? What is that? I think it is so ridiculous. Why would you go back after the game and be like, oh, we messed up here, this should have been that? No, you hired the refs as the NBA. You live and die by their calls, and it is what it is. Why would you go back and dissect all these calls that the refs made in the final 2 minutes to blow a game or to not blow a game? I don't know. I think that is one of the weirdest things the NBA could possibly do. The Sixers on a 2-game win streak right now. Joel Embiid played in the game against Phoenix the other night. He ended up hurting his hand after he went up to grab a ball, fell, and he used his hand as his landing spot. And it seems like he's going to be okay. You watched him. He went to the rim. He still shot the ball. It didn't look like he was affecting him too bad, but he was holding it a lot. He was looking at it pretty much after every play. But it seems like he's okay. And the Sixers, like I said, yes, on a 2-game win streak, and they will be playing Wednesday night against the Spurs. The line's at even. It's in Philadelphia. We will see how that goes. That's obviously going to be a tough game. We're going to see if we can handle one of the top dogs in the league. The Spurs are sitting at 25-12 at this moment. Isaiah Thomas is actually coming back tonight to finally play for the Cleveland Cavaliers as they host the Trailblazers, but they are playing a back-to-back because the following night, which is tomorrow, they play the Celtics in Boston, and he is not playing that game, and he even asked the Boston Celtics not to do any sort of Jumbotron tribute when he is not playing in the basketball game. He's been around the news a lot lately about his situation with Boston, the trade, and he's like, drop it. I don't care anymore. I'm here in Cleveland. That is all that matters, and let's win. So, Lastly, the Fly Guys. The Flyers dropped the game against the Florida Panthers, which we've discussed in last episode, and I said they went on that 10-game losing streak. They won 6 in a row. Then they win, then they lose, then they win one, then they lose one, and now it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They lose to a Florida Panthers squad. After being down 3-0, they fought back and lost 3-2. Then they go back-to-back to Tampa Bay. And I'm thinking, oh, man, we're going to play one of the hottest teams in the league at 27-8-2. And they played very well. They were down 1-0. Steven Stamkos scored a bingo in the first period. Then the second, Wayne Simmons scores a power play goal. Shane Gostisbehere scores a power play goal. Then Tampa Bay ties it up 2-2. Sean Couturier late in the third period with 12 seconds left, assisted by Claude Giroux, takes the lead 3-2. And in the third period, Brandon Manning makes it 4-2. Tyler Johnson with 10 minutes left in the third makes it a 1-goal game until Filppula scores to take the 5-3 lead. Claude Giroux had 3 assists in that game. So we're beating top dogs here. You lose to Florida, you beat the top dog in Tampa Bay. Flyers are 16-14-8 with a ginormous game tonight. NBC Sports, 7 o'clock, hosting the struggling Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, Sidney Crosby is struggling, air quotes, right now. And I looked up his stats. My man has 37 games played, 34 points or so. In what world is that struggling? But it is to him. That's almost a point per game, and it's struggling. It's just crazy that he's that great. It really is something special. Sticking on the hockey topic, I'm sure for the non-diehard hockey fans, the World Junior Classic isn't anything that is that wild to you guys, but it is definitely one of the best tournaments every single year around Christmas time. It's the top prospects under the age of 20 who go out there and are the top in their country. Most of them are playing. This year is wild because you got the major juniors, which a lot of people who know they go pro go play over there, or you play college hockey. And this year for the U.S., it is a lot, like 90% of NCAA college hockey players, which is a statement saying that college hockey is truly a route for players who want to go pro play. Because before, everyone just went to major juniors because you don't have to go to school, you get paid. But college hockey is definitely making a name for itself without a doubt. So USA right now, they had a tough start. They ended up their first game. Hold on one sec. I'm just looking for their schedule so I can bring it up. But I know for a fact their first game was an easy game. They ended up playing a nobody and won 9-0. Denmark, that's who their first game was. Their first game was Denmark. They won 9-0. This year it is hosted in Buffalo, New York. Then they played the Slovaks, and they lost 3-2. That is a huge upset. You have your power rankings of USA, Canada, Russia, Sweden. Those are the top dogs. You got a team like Slovakia coming in and winning 3-2. That's a huge statement. But and Canada with your next game. I mean, you got to play Canada your next game, which is always your hardest game every year. So they end up winning in a shootout outdoors in a snowing game. They win 4-3 in a shootout when they were down early. And then they beat Finland. So they end up going 3-1 in the prelims. And tonight at 8 o'clock, they host Russia in the quarterfinals. Last year, if you didn't know, they ended up winning it. And it's a great time of the year. It really is. It's a cool tournament. You're watching prospects. I mean, you run through rosters of past World Junior Championships, and I mean, you're talking about Jonathan Toews, John Gaudreau. I mean, you're talking about guys who are legitimate NHL superstars in this time, back when they were 18, 19 years old doing their thing. So it's really cool to watch these guys, and there's some really good talent out there. I don't like looking at their ages anymore because I'm like, oh my gosh, some of these guys are 99s, 98s. I'm getting so old in this damn game. But with that being said, I'm going to end this episode here. Episode 50, that is. 50 episodes. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at sportsandbrodes. This is where you will find out where my latest episodes are dropped. You can also call into the show using your voice recording apps, your voice memo apps on your iPhones, and sending it to sportsandbrodes@gmail.com, and you will be implemented into the show. You can talk about anything you want, any sports topics. So once again, thank you. I will see you guys next time. Episode 50 in the books. Talk to you later.